How are you today? Oh, this is a bigger group than I thought. Because the day to day, when I work in my clinic, I only work with the one family at a time. So seems like it's a more than a one. So it's a lot bigger than I expected. Okay, just the room is bigger. So my room is small, so only one family at a time. I will introduce myself a little bit. I'm a licensed psychologist, but I myself immigrated to America from Korea. So I identify myself Korean immigrant. It's a Korean first generation immigrant. So I came here around age 28 and I went through some ups and downs with my immigration process. I ended up became a youth pastor and educational department at our church. So I was leading youth and the college students. And then while I was doing ministry with our students, especially immigrant, church. So church that I was attending was a Korean American. So there's a KM, like a Korean ministry and also English ministry. So I was kind of doing it both way. So leading and guiding the elders and the deacons. At the same time, I was in charge of our youth and college and educational department. So while I was doing ministry, I was experiencing something a little bit odd as an immigrant. As a Korean immigrant, when I was communicating with the parents and when I was doing ministry with the children, there's some gaps, the huge gaps. Our parents are going or doing, some parents actually doing the 2 jobs and 3 jobs to just provide their children's education and all of the life. And they don't have enough time to spend time with their children. And then all children are just live there, right? And coming back from school, but parents tell them to focus on the academics, and the day on Sunday we're coming to church, but there's a lot of gaps and confusions, but there's no relationship. So our youth and then our church ministry motivated me to study a little bit more. That's why I became a psychologist. So I am very, very thankful that my journey um, in America and how the gift that God has given me that I can serve in a many different way as of now. So during my master and then doctor program that I wrote a thesis and my dissertation. When we write a dissertation, we write a book. Was it about this? Because that's what I was experiencing during my ministry with the parents, immigrant parents, and then 1.5 or second generation who were born in America. So I wanted to study about them and then bring it. How can we resolve these issues? Of course, for me, I wanted to look at it more of a gospel point of view, but from the psychological point of view, what was going on, right? So how can we resolve the issues? So things that I'm going to share with you today is one chapter of it from my whole dissertation. It's just one part of it. So I wanted to share as much as I can with you so that you can take something away with you when you go back home and then with your children or even at church when you're doing ministry in some way that can give you a little bit of insight. I don't think that today's our meeting in itself will give you entire solution that, oh, now I got it, I can raise my children to be successful. Lower your expectation. So it will be just the one part of understanding about our lives in America, especially with immigration history that we have. So again, I'm really praying that just giving it a little bit of insight from what I observe and then what I do with my clients and then some of the studies that we constantly discovering more about the immigrant families. So today's title, as you said, you can read it, Understanding and Finding Resolution of Intergenerational Conflicts. So one thing that I wanted to share before getting into intergenerational conflicts, when you're really looking at intergenerational conflicts, when I was in Korea, I shared the same culture with my parents, same language, right? There's no immigration history there. I lived in Korea until 28. But I still had intergenerational conflicts with my mom and dad. Probably we all did, right? So when I was in middle school and in high school, if I remember correctly, I don't think I never had deep conversation with my parents. They never asked, hey, how do you feel today? Everything that what they were asking, did you do your homework? Did you eat? When is your test? That's all they were checking, even in Korea. So intergenerational conflicts, when you really think about it, it's generation to generation. Probably you yourself experienced with your parents, and you are experiencing with your children. So intergenerational conflicts is unavoidable or inevitable that every generation we will experience. Probably there's a lot of different things, culture, right? And then there's some trends and some norms, and sciences are changing too. You know, some sciences, as you and I know, that if those people who studied long time ago, 100 years ago, if we are asking them, how did you find that that is a science? They will be embarrassed. People think that Earth was flat, and I want to talk to them. How did you find that that was a science? They will be embarrassed, right? The science is changing and evolving too. So within our own culture, especially in these days, the digital age, so many things are changing every day. Every day. I carried iPhone 12, or is it 12 or 11? I don't even know. I don't want to change my phone. But right now is iPhone 15 or 16? 16, oh, you're ahead, you know. I don't want to change because I don't want to learn a new app. So within our own generation, still, there's some of things that are changing and evolving so fast. And our children, you don't even have to teach, they just know already. Some of the things, they know more than you, right? So we kind of needed to have accurate and realistic understanding about this intergenerational conflicts. It's happening all generations, in all histories. But how can we understand our intergenerational conflicts living in America? I'm not in Korea. If I'm going back to Korea, I will be very confused again. Because so many things have changed that I cannot even understand what they're talking about. A couple of years ago, I went back to Korea visiting my mom. And I was talking to a couple of our cousins and our cousins' children. We are speaking Korean, and I'm fluent in Korean. We are talking. I don't understand what they're talking about. They are creating their own word. And I have to ask them, so what does that mean? What does that mean? What are you talking about? So they're shortening the long sentence to the two words. So I have to relearn Korean. Of their own slang, their own meme, or whatever, right? And in America, it's the same thing. So even if we are speaking English, we cannot understand them fully. The cultural differences and all that. So we kind of needed to kind of having this realistic understanding or expectations, intergenerational conflicts is inevitable. Right? But today, I wanted to talk about it. Then how can we raise our children? How can we understand better so that we can find better way to build a relationship and helping our children to be successful in their lives in America, right? So that's the key, in America. So let's look at it, the first slide. Okay. This is a quite important picture. America. So you have your own culture, I have my own culture, but in America, we're living in America. So Americans or Western cultural values are all individual. You heard about this, individualism. American culture believes and also emphasized putting a value in individualism, which means everything is about me. What is beneficial for me? What can you give to me? What can you do for me? Everything is centered around self. Right? And then their freedom is very, very important. Their space is very important. Their own choices is very, very important. Even in a relationship, is very transactional. That what can you give me more if I do this for you? It's not, I'm not saying that that is bad, but that is the fundamental beliefs in America. And on top of that, capitalism. Right? This culture is derived in a very subtle way, but sometimes is a very clear way to teaching us and teaching our children that you have to compete with everyone. So you have to get better, you have to do better, you have to gain more. Then your value is worth it. So everything is who has more. If you have more, I will go to you so that I can get it what you have so that I can get more. So everything is about me. And also, they are very explicit when they are speaking. When they are talking, they are very explicit about what they're thinking, what they're feeling. So when I even have counseling with patients, with the white community and the Asian communities are very different. When I work with more of a Western, like a culture and then American or Caucasian families, they have no hesitance. Sometimes I don't even have to talk a single word. They just talk, talk, talk. And at the end, oh, okay, I got it. Because they are able to express verbally. So the verbal communication is very important. What you said, I will take it as a truth. Right? So they are very, very explicit and expressive about their thoughts and feelings. Sometimes parents, they don't even have to ask, hey, how was your day? They just talk. But Asian family, on the other hand, I have a hard time to pulling out their teeth. Tell me about it. Right? And most of our parents are telling me that too. My children don't talk. The traditional Asian, which way? Okay. On the other hand, the traditional Asian value and beliefs are all together. It's a collectivism. Right? So individualism and collectivism. Individualistic and collectivistic. Collectivistic means we're all together. Our family value is more important than my individual value. A lot of our parents let go of their desire and their dream in order for them to serve the family. Support the husband. Support the children. Because the family value is more important. So often our parents are saying, how could you do that? Do you know how much I've sacrificed for you? Because we sacrifice a lot of things to support our children and raise our children. So in our mind already, I gave it all. Because that's how we grew up, and that's the value. So harmony is more important, right? So creating the peace. So even though you have your own opinions, even though you have your own value, you will be quiet. If his overall value is, have some directions, right? So we will go with that. So we allow our children to be patient and quiet and wait. And we often say, mom and dad knows better. So also we value respect to authority, right? Because I said so. If you listen to me, you will do better. And our communication is also not explicit, verbal, but it's very implicit. So we're thinking a lot, we're feeling it inside, but we're not communicating because we don't want my feeling and my thought to affect other people. Because of that, Asians have a supernatural gift of guessing. All Asian community has a supernatural gift of assuming. My mom may feel that way. My mom may want this. My husband will want to eat this. I know you. So we don't even ask because we know everything. We guess, we assume so well, so we don't even ask. How's your day? We don't ask. If they're trying to say, I know, but study. Right? So we Asians, we have to agree. Because the reason why you're laughing, because you agree, you assume a lot, you guess a lot. You think that you know, one day you realize, oh my God, I didn't know about that. I thought you liked the spiced food. And said, no, I just ate it because you made it. I thought you liked the chicken. No, Mom, I never liked the chicken. I want a steak. But one day we realize, what? And sometimes probably you feel that too with your marriage. How can your husband doesn't know and understand you? You want a Gucci bag. Right? But your husband never knew. But we think they should know. We have this interesting beliefs that they should just know automatically. How come you don't know? That's why you use the word should. You should. So, we already do have intergenerational conflicts, regardless of a culture and a language. But now, on top of that, living in America, now we have these two cultures exist in our home. Now your children growing up in America, receiving this Asian traditional value from the parents, but they're going to a school, and then now they're getting it the opposite. My family is teaching me that family value is important. You have to understand and obey and respect is more important. But going to school, everyone said, no, what do you want? How do you feel? Listen to your heart. There's a phrase, right? Everyone is saying, listen to your heart. Follow your gut. So going home, that's not important. You have to be a doctor. You just have to go to the good school. No, Mom, I have to follow my heart. Right? So at home and going to school, especially if going to school, they have friends, they have more of a Western value that they're growing up in their home. Now they're confused. I will share one confusion that I had. So as I said, I immigrated as age 28. So I went to the language school. I wanted to learn language quickly as possible. So always sitting in front, right, and listening and then writing. And one day, my English teacher was calling me, and then Mi-jin come to my office after class, so I went. So, and then of course, me growing up in Korea, so I was listening like this, right? And then my teacher said, Mi-jin, look at me. I said, okay. But split second looking at it and down again. And I said, Mi-jin, look at me, look at my eyes. I was just looking at it, shaking it. I was nervous, right? I don't know where to look at it. And she was saying, there's something wrong. That why you're avoiding eye contact. So I wanted to know, how can I help you to listen and engage with me? I said, I was very confused as 28 years old, not 80 years old, but 28 years old. I was confused. What are you talking about? But although, limited English and all that, so I grew up when teacher was speaking to you, spoke directly to you, and your parents are talking to you, you cannot make eye contact. It's disrespectful. And my mom often say, how dare you looking at me? Right? I always have to stay like this when parents or teachers are speaking to me. But now in America, there's look at me. It's a completely opposite. And then my teacher was misunderstanding me, that I was disrespecting her, sitting in front, not even looking at once. It was completely opposite. And our children probably are going through the same thing. Regardless of they are living in America, born in America, they were raised by you. First, at least 6 years. And going to schools, everything is different now. The confusions, what they are going through. So our immigrants' parents faced many, many challenges, including language and cultural barriers. Those difficulties navigating, they're constantly navigating their lives with those difficulties, while our children are going through similar difficulties. We never understood what they were going through. It's something that I didn't know, but they were going through. Now, some family or some children are building interesting shame internally. They are Asian. During my ministry, some of our kids or dye their hair with blonde, yellow, because they want to look like more of an American. They didn't like Asian look. On top of that, some of our families and our children, it seems like today's our gathering, and most of you are English speaking, but probably you went through this if your parents came before you or come together. Our parents, not because they didn't want it to, it was quite difficult to learn English in culture because it's more of a survival, right? They have to adjust to the new culture, but they have to take care of their children and family, so they have to go to the workplace right away. But where they can work, the place where they can be comfortable with, language-wise and culture-wise. So they go to the Vietnamese community, so they don't have to speak in English. Koreans are the same, Japanese are the same, Chinese are the same. That's why each region has their own town, Korea town. Vietnamese, what do you call? Is that Vietnamese town? Little Saigon, yes, right? Little Tokyo. Because it's politically also, economically, it created it, you live there, then it'd be okay. If you wanted to assimilate, you come out, but you needed to follow our culture. But if it's not, be comfortable there. That's why they created this name, Little Saigon. Koreatown. So if they wanted it to go to the school, that sometimes our children needed to be a language brokering. They have to interpret everything. If they receive a bill or they needed to read the documents, oftentimes children have to do it for parents. Dr. Esther and I, we went to Georgia last summer to give a similar lecture. And then one of the young adults was sharing with us during the conversation. On the weekend, he cannot do anything because he has to take his grandparents everywhere. Doctor's office, pharmacist, grocery store, rather than hanging out with his friends. That's his duty. Because his parents go to work. So he's the only one who's available to take care of his grandparents. Is becoming a broker in between. So now, suddenly, in a good way though, those children who become a language brokering, that this is a term. In a research, we use this term, the second generation who are doing the mitigating in between, right? So this is just a technical term that we're using it. So those children are mature faster. They become more independent because they needed to solve the problem. But when they face some difficult situation, some legally involved issues or medical related issues, they don't understand. Those language and terms are too difficult for them. Now it created an internal anxiety because they don't know what's going on, right? So it can create an independence and also maturity, but internally they're creating this anxiety. Also, they have this strong beliefs they have to always be available for their parents and their grandparents. So often, for these teenagers, rather than building their relationship with their friends, peer group, they have to be available for the family. And then while our children are going through these experiences, now, on the other hand, our parents may experience this disempowering. If this is my country, my language, my culture, I know what to do, right? Even going to school, if my child has some issues, parents will go fight for it, for our children's right. And then talk to the teachers and the school, and then this is what my child needs. This is unfair. Our parents cannot do that. They have to rely on their children to fight for it. But what they know, what do they know? So a lot of times, Asian families were coming, and when I do some psychological assessment, I have to teach them legal right. This is your child's right in America. They can get the service. You have to fight for it. So a lot of times, Asian immigrant families don't get their right services from school, what they can, what they deserve, because we don't know. So our parents are suddenly relying on, depending on our children to make a decision. And as we just talked about, our children on their side, they don't know. So decision that they're making it often is not the best. And they just have to observe their peers, what they do, and they will copy. Our parents are now depending on, so what other kids said? Ask your friends instead of, let me figure it out. Let me talk to your teacher, let me do it. Or rather than creating the safety, and rather than creating that I will do it for you, that's my job. It's my responsibility as your mom and dad. But we're telling them, go and ask teacher. You write an email to your teacher. It's a complete role reverse. And our children's developing this obligation, but internally there's a huge anxiety because they don't know. But they have to deal with the legal issues, their rights, something that they don't even know. They needed to talk to the teacher. So instead of building gratitude, appreciation of what their parents are sacrificing for, they're building this huge conflicts internally. Huge anxiety, and sometimes, unfortunately, depressions. So a lot of Asian immigrants, children have higher and undiagnosed those mood disorders as well. So let's understand where all these things are happening, though. As we talked about it earlier, intergenerational conflicts is every country, whether you speak the same language and share the same cultures. But we're having it more here, living in America, and our children are going through tremendous stress and difficulties without knowing what that is, due to the obligation of their taking on as a family member. But I wanted to share a little bit of a study. All human beings, not only your children, not only you, not only me, all human beings, okay? We have our own needs. When our children are born, in any countries, doesn't matter culture or language, all children are completely incapable. Some birds or some animals, as soon as they're walking and they're looking for food, within about a couple months, they're already flying and following their parents. Animals are like that, but human beings are not like that. If you're not paying attention, they die. If you're not feeding them, they don't know how to get food. They just cry and cry and die. Did you realize that? Human beings are only creatures need to be dependent on their parents. God created us very uniquely, which means every child needed to be seen by their parents. When they are looking, parents have to look at it and have peekaboo. So they have connections. They cannot survive with their own. And every children need safety. That's why we created a shelter for them. All our children, when they are in a discomfort, they wanted it to be soothed. Sometimes we don't understand why. Maybe it is just the poop and then change the diaper. But they needed to be soothed. That's why they're constantly seeking somebody around them to provide for their survival. And they have to be secure that somebody will protect me. Okay, let's pause for a second. Do you agree all that? Human needs? But do you think that you provide all that? The way we are interacting with our children is shaped their brain. Okay, let me just give you one quick neuroscience here. When our children are born and until age 3, although they have a little bit of a verbal skill, mama, mama, daddy, daddy, hungry. No, they do that, but until age 3, their brain is not fully developed, but sensing it at all. So they cannot communicate within their own brain or surroundings what's going on. Because they cannot reason what's happening around. So if a mom is looking at them and smiling at them, then they feel secure. They don't know that is happy or angry. But if you raise your voice, if a certain level of a voice, that loud noise created it internally, the brain is receiving that as danger. They don't understand your reason yet. When you are yelling at them, when you're spanking at them during that age, they're just creating it. I am not safe. I thought my parents will protect me, but they're hurting me. So now I have to survive. So I have to do what they needed to do so that I don't get killed. This is a little too extreme, but So in their mind, if we are spanking in them without clear reasoning, even if you are talking to them, that's dangerous, you cannot do that, they don't get it. That's our human development in our brain. They cannot get it. But the way you are responding, whatever that they were doing, is creating a shape in their brain to understand and interpreting about the world and people. Who is safe for me? Who is not safe? Who can soothe me? Who can protect me? Some family, unfortunately, they never felt safe. While they are lying down, wanted to be soothed, but parents are fighting. The loud noise creating a fear in them. This family, this house is not safe. They don't know the reason. Oh, mom and dad could have a conflict, They cannot have a reason. They just have a senses to understand what's going on around them. So after age 3, now they are trying to kind of understand. That's what they're asking. Why? Mom, why are you crying? Mom, why dad is yelling? So now, after age 3, with everything that what they're experiencing in their body, now they are think differently. They feel differently. They remember things that you don't want them to remember, but not many times inaccurately. And they behave differently now. After I studied psychology, I went back to my mom and dad because I remember something during my elementary school. So I wanted to check with my mom and dad if they can. I want them to apologize to me. So I went back to them. So I said, Mom, why did you hit me during the time? I still don't understand. I was just studying. I said, what are you talking about? During the time that, I was going to my friend's house and study and I came back and then you hit me. You slapped me, actually. So I still remember, and then I was very confused and I cried all night on that night. Why did you do that? My mom was in Korean, but it's why do you remember those kind of things? But I remember though. There is a memory that in me that's so odd. I couldn't understand why my mom hit me. Our memory very specifically and very subjectively remember, and now we are creating stories with that. But often when you are communicating with your parents, they don't remember. They will say, that's not true. Who told you that? How did you think about that? But I remember. But I remember differently. Why? Because we don't communicate. And we don't understand these differences. So all that needs that our children are need when they're growing up, often we're too busy to provide, to look at them. I see you. I'm here. I know you are having a hard time. I want to be next to you. What are your needs? I want to hug you. Don't worry, Mom will take care of me, take care of you. Dad will take care of you. You don't have to worry about that. We don't do that. We're too busy, and again, using our supernatural gift, and assuming that they know how hard we are working for them. On the other hand, our children are growing up, not meeting human needs. Not because they are Asian or Asian immigrants, but as a child, internally, their needs never met. Now, what's going to happen? Now, if they felt insecure in their heart, never felt safe, what will they do? They will do everything to protect them. Sometimes that protection is away from you, unfortunately. If they never felt loved, now they will go out, seek for love. You will feel that, why would you do that? Why are you doing unsafe relationship out there? But they're seeking for love. It doesn't make sense to you, but in their brain, in their thinking, in their feeling, how they remember that they never felt loved. And they will go out to find love. And their choices based on their earlier experience of that unmet need. If we are constantly checking on their grade in academics, they will do it. Probably they can do it. If kids can do it, it has ability, they will do it. But only they do it believing that that will make them be away from you. Many of our children wanted to go away, far away, when they choose college. Okay, we don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to talk too much on this. So our children are growing up with those unmet needs, right? And then now their identity is not secure, but their identity is out there that they needed to find because it will make them feel a certain way. So find your way, knowing your identity, go look for it, is confusing our children even more. Again, difficulties, sufferings, and pains are inevitable. We know as adults. It's not about the language and culture. Of course, we have to understand those differences, right? But it is inevitable. But we cannot make them to avoid all the difficulties and sufferings. They will face it in one way or the other. Then how can we help them? How can this be resolved then? If this problem and this conflicts, generation to generation, history by history, or history after history are telling us, is inevitable. Every generation has, every family has it. None of our parents, if you are asking any parents, they'll all say they never felt perfect parents. They always feel guilty that they are not good mom and dad. While we're growing up now, they are investing in something to gain. How can we help our children? So Hebrews chapter 12:11 is saying that we have to discipline them. How can we discipline them? I would just define the word discipline. Oftentimes, especially from our Asian parents, they believe discipline is punishing. Discipline is not punishing them. Discipline is not giving consequences. Discipline means helping our children to think so that they can make better or right choices, so that they can be responsible of their choices. We have to help them to think whatever the behaviors that they're having, there's a limit, right? There's a standard. There's a way of doing it. So we have to help them to think after whatever their incidents happen. We have to help them to think about their choices. Is there any other or better choices that they could make so that next time they can make a better choice, that they can be responsible and they can continue to grow? That's the discipline. And the Christians are sometimes misunderstood the way God disciplines. Right? That's God. We have to be compassionate about things that what we just talked about. We have to understand, try our best to understand them. But in order for you to have proper or effective disciplining for your children, this is the key. You have to have a relationship. Oftentimes, without this relationship, if a parents felt that children are not following your guidance and your advice, what do? We use our power. Power to remove their privileges. Physical power, just spank them. Yelling at them. If we are using our power to discipline them, they will use their power to fight against you. That's why yelling back and forth, and sometimes our children are using it, inappropriate words, throwing things, because now they needed to use their power. And some children are very smart. How to fight you is not doing what you ask them to do, because it will make you angry. Right? So if you don't have a relationship, you will use something that you have what that don't have. Then that's not discipline. That becomes punishment. More important than anything, our children will grow up and then they will leave you. They will go to college. They will work. They become independent and young adults. But they're gaining all other informations, knowledge, and values are out there. They don't want to come back to you. They will just visit you Christmas, Thanksgiving, or maybe Father's Day. But they will not going to call you, Mom, I have some difficulties today. Your child will want to be soothed by you. Your child wanted it to be here. Everything will be all right. We'll be here. But they are not getting that from you. And they're not talking to you. Then, if you don't have that relationship, that they can feel safe and comfortable to come back, even if you are trying your best to help them, they will not going to take it. Not because that is not the best. It just doesn't make sense to them. So if you wanted it to provide the discipline, best advice, wisdom that you gain through your own life, you needed to keep the relationship. If you don't, they often come to us. They want to talk to us. They don't talk to you, but they talk to me. They don't want to share their feelings with you, but they open up with us. So some children are asking parents, Mom, I need help. Can I see the therapist? I want you to create this safe space and place at home, not about success and failure. Today's key is let them come home. Let them come to you. Let them come to your church so they can feel safe. They are accepted. They are loved. They are belong. Regardless of what's going on in life, we needed to be a person, family, leaders in church that they can think about when they're going through some hardship and they can come home. Thank you. Okay. And also, now I'm done for what I wanted to provide it for you.